and welcome to my channel, I Win to Lose Gaming. So we're back with an updated Wuthering Waves Team Calcs tier list, and with the new characters introduced in version 2.7 being both Galbrenna as well as Choyen, I figured, hey, maybe we might do an update video on these Team Calcs tier lists, maybe every patch with major character releases, and if that's something you'd like to see, let me know down in the comments below. So I decided, okay, what is the origin of this tier list? I asked the boys for some help with a bunch of Team Calcs, so huge thanks to them. Catalyst Online, Low Priority, Sweat Drops, and Pride Win. They are the goats of calculations and stuff like that for Wuthering Waves, so I do greatly appreciate them. Hey guys, huge thanks to GameLoft for sponsoring today's video. So you know how every gacha collab gives you a cute maid outfit or a limited sword or something? Well, this one gives you a car. That's right, Asphalt Legends just dropped an official Hololive production collaboration. And now you can drift, boost, and absolutely obliterate traffic laws with cars featuring Kiara, Ollie, Iris, and Narissa. This event, live until November 13th, is loaded with exclusive stuff. 8 Hololive themed car decals, 4 adorable chibi emojis, custom voice lines, and even a new car release just for the collab. And the Hololive towns have already streamed Asphalt Legends, where you can still go check out their chaotic multiplayer races. Imagine Ollie drifting while shouting out super chats. Yeah, well, you won't be disappointed. If you've never played Asphalt Legends before, it's free, it's fast, and it's the most over-the-top arcade racer out there. You can jump off skyscrapers, activate triple nitros, and crash midair like it's part of the plan, all while cross-playing on PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, PC, and mobile. So don't wait, download Asphalt Legends now using the link or QR code on screen and join the Hololive event before it ends on November 13th. Huge thanks to GameLoft for sponsoring today's video. Let's go through some of the parameters of this tier list just so we don't have too many misconceptions about it. This tier list's goal is to focus on featured 5-star resonators. So we decided to calculate every feature 5-star resonator, well, most of them, with their best teams as well as a reasonable low-cost team for them to function in order to, well, make this tier list. And 4-star characters as well as standard banner characters, we're not focusing on those characters because the goal of this tier list is to help give you insight in terms of pull value and how these characters perform in their best teams. Now, the calculations are based on their ideal teams for, well, the ideal team tier list, and we also have a tier list for their budget team options. And the reality is, with the HP values just going up in Tower of Diversity, at this point you pretty much need 3 pretty fully well-built teams that can handle Tower in order to clear it, and you need a reasonable, usable 4th budget team as well. And for these calculations, we are assuming slightly above average player skill, so nothing way too sweaty, right? Like, you know, some of you guys like to sweat a lot, like the guy named Sweat Drops who helps with these videos. But if you prefer staying dry, I guess that kind of sounds weird, but instead of sweating a whole bunch while playing video games, then yeah, you know, we're assuming average player skill with reasonable rotations. And we're also assuming that, you know, you are able to execute these character rotations. So I would say a bit above the average player, but, you know, probably a decent player that likes to watch my tutorials. Smash and subscribe for Wuthering Waves. Now, the investment level for these characters is at Sequence 0, Refinement 1 weapons, and each 5-star is considered to be 1 cost. So for example, a character like Augusta with her signature weapon would be considered 2 costs, and we assessed pretty much most of the characters with their signature weapon in order to keep them at a normal baseline level. And one of the few exceptions is Shorekeeper, who is evaluated with the variation instead of her signature weapon. And yes, I know weapons are technically a bit cheaper, but we figured, hey, you still got to put in a lot of pulls to get those weapons. So yeah, we evaluated the weapons at 1 cost as well. Now, for some disclaimers, of course, these Team Calcs are not intended as an end-all be-all comparison, but simply one reference for team damage. Different teams excel in different situations, and just because one team is better than another team based on these calcs, this does not mean that team is always or actually better. There are certainly mistakes in the calcs and countless ways to optimize, but we did our best to provide some sort of basis of comparison. So please take everything with a giant grain of salt and, of course, use your best judgment. So this is where we left off in the previous video. We can see here that we have the 90 to 100% club, the 80 to 90% club, 70 to 80% club, 60 to 70% club, and less than 60% club. And this team on the left is for their best teams, where the costs are going to be higher than 3 costs. Most of these teams, they cost between 4 and 6 costs for their, like how many 5 stars are in a team. Now, the thing about this is that we're evaluating this in comparison to the highest DPS team in the game. So, for example, a character in this list will be at 100%, the top character, which is Cartethia, Chacona, as well as with Rover Arrow. This team has an 80,000 team DPS, and they are at the top, and they will be considered the 100% team. So any characters that come within 90 to 100% of the top DPS team will be considered, within this top tier right here, the 90 to 100% club. Similarly, we also 2 cost main DPS teams right here, tier list on the right. And I have a feeling that the actual tier list portion and adjustments for this video is going to be a bit on the shorter side, because we do only have 2 new characters, being Galbrena as well as Cho Yuan. And we can already see here one major adjustment being Frolova, Cantarella, and Cho Yuan. And previously we can see that Frolova and Cantarella actually belonged in the 80 to 90% club. But thanks to the release of Cho Yuan, this brings Frolova and Cantarella at least up to the 92.64% of the current best DPS team in the game, Chacona, Cartethia, as well as Rover Arrow. Of course, there's some notes here with some issues, like for example with Rover Arrow's consistency, yada yada yada. But that point aside, we're talking about Cho Yuan, Frolova, Cantarella. And as we can see, this Havoc focused Echo damage team, although Cho Yuan kind of ruins the Havoc theme of it, but hey, he's still Echo themed, which works out pretty well for this team. And he was kind of the last bump that this team needed to catch up into the 90% club. So congratulations to Frolova, Cantarella, and we even have the new face of Cho Yuan being added here into the 90 to 100% club. We can already see his impact on this tier list. So the next tier is the 80 to 90% club, and for this video I decided to include a lot more teams, but I decided to indicate, okay, where do these characters first show up with this little arrow icon right here. This indicates, okay, the first instance of these characters showing up, because yeah, we got a lot of Team Calcs, as you can see, a lot of different teams, but various characters show up at different points in the chart for the first time, and that's where we're evaluating these characters, is on their best team. So this team, as indicated by this arrow, yes, a very creative way to indicate a character's first appearance, happens to be Rocha's first appearance, and she's unchanged, being in the 80 to 90% club. We can see here that her best team with Frolova and Cantarella is at 86%. So it's a bit worse than, for example, Cho Yuan in terms of just pure team DPS. But hey, that's still pretty decent for Rocha. And then we have Galbrena as well as Lupa's first appearance being in the 84.76%. So in the 80 to 90% club, we can add Galbrena right here above Jian, as well as Lupa. Okay, yeah, Lupa was already on tiers. There she is. So there we go. Now we've also brought up Lupa down from the 70 to 80% club up to the 80 to 90% club. Feels pretty good for them, especially if you do indeed have Galbrena as well as Cho Yuan. This team indeed feels quite good, all things considered. So yeah, another pretty solid team being added to the roster. And also, Brandt happens to be another lucky benefactor of Galbrena's release, being another fantastic character on a Galbrena team. So now we've got most of the Fusion crew up here in the 80 to 90% club, thanks to the release of Galbrena as well as Cho Yuan. Well, I guess Cho Yuan didn't really contribute here, because this team alone would have covered all 3 of their promotions, but hey. Now, again, Jian is unchanged. He's still here thanks to Yuno's as well as Chacona's being on his team, pushing him into the 80% club. And no new characters showed up here, but you can also see some slightly lower cost alternative team structures in order to fulfill being in, you know, a pretty solid 80 to 90% of the top DPS team in the game. Okay, so this list is getting a bit comically long here because, yeah, this time I decided to include every team calc that we did because, hey, we got to add some new stuff for the content, right? Where were we? We were at the 70 to 80% club, which constitutes of this group right here. And we can see a few characters appear for the first time, being Carlotta, Zhezhi, as well as Shorekeeper, and they remain pretty much unchanged compared to last time. Not much else to say about them. Zani, Yuno, and Phoebe team as well, also being lumped in here to the 70 to 80% club. And finally, Chongli is here as well. I forgot to mark her first appearance. Actually, what did she have an appearance a bit higher up? She actually did. Okay, yeah, so actually Chongli had a small buff. We can see a promotion of a couple percentage points in terms of team DPS, going from this Lupa Chongli team to this Galbrena Chongli team. But overall, still no change, not enough. Galbrena's release didn't appear to be enough to push her up into the 80% club. But hey, it's all fine. You know, she's still perfectly fine where she is. Now, we can now move down to the 60 to 70% club. And there's, you know, a lot of teams here. It's definitely getting a little bit cluttered. And we can see Camellia as well as Jin Shi's first appearances being right here down in the 60% club. So nothing has changed for them. Although you can see a lot of other teams here now being shown in comparison to the last video, including even an encore team. So hey, if you wanted an encore team, she can indeed make it into the same club as right around here, based on team DPS, of course. And yeah, so Camellia and Jinshi at the moment, you know, still staying here. They weren't affected by any of the new releases. And finally, if we scroll all the way down here, oh my goodness, this is so far down, but we have to scroll all the way down here. This 5-cost team with Shangli Yao, Yinlin, and Shorekeeper. So they are indeed still unchanged right here in the less than 60% club.
One strike to settle it all.
Now, let's now take a look at the 2-cost teams, and there's actually no change to this tier list at all. And I'm not even going to, I guess, yap about it much. Now, I realized we didn't actually do a Galbrena 2-cost team calculation. We probably should have in hindsight, but as a little bonus, I will also include the 3 costs. So let's take a look at what happens when we add 3 costs here. So yeah, might have to go back and ask them to do a Galbrena calc as well as potentially a Choyuan calc. But we can see that once we increase it to a 3 cost, we can see Choyuan right here. 3 cost just means we're using Shorekeeper. And Choyuan actually here at 77% of the Augusta Mortefi Shorekeeper team, which honestly is okay, right? Like that's not the worst thing ever. And actually, we should probably set the baseline to this team instead. So because yeah, the best 2-cost team right here with Frolova. So we got a main DPS Choyuan team, and we also have a 3-cost Galbrena team. If you do slot in Shorekeeper with Galbrena, she can indeed keep up with the 2-cost Frolova team. So there is that to keep in mind. Yeah, might have to go back again and talk to them about doing Galbrena 2-cost as well as Choyuan 2-cost. Unfortunately, they are in the no 2-cost team calcs, but you can see their 3-cost alternatives with Shorekeeper on their team being reasonably competitive, all things considered, to a 2-cost Frolova team, which is, well, the tippity top in terms of low 2-cost teams. Okay, so yeah, that about does it for this quick update to the tier list video. Obviously, since we're not evaluating each character for the first time like we did in the last video, this one is going to be quite a bit shorter. If you guys do like these kind of updated tier list videos, do let me know down in the comments below, because maybe I can make this a reoccurring series and we can keep up the team calcs and, you know, throw them all in to the batch every patch or so. If this is something you guys do like, be sure to like and subscribe, or just comment as well, because that helps YouTube know, that helps me know as well whether, you know, we should continue this series or not. So yeah, that's about it. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Want to Lose, signing out.